Hello, everybody. It's CEO Jimbo. I have another scientific story for you. This one is on uh, Morse code. I made this sheet here. It's half a sheet of paper on the subject. Anyway, this is a drawing that I made from a photograph. Most of this is from Wikipedia, Morse code. This is a telegraph key and sounder, push on, release off. So you push it on. That's kind of how you do it to make your dits and your das. I don't remember exactly whether how you do that. I'm kind of learning all that. This was kind of an old style one here, the single needle telegraph. This is kind of before the dits and das, where due to electric current, if you kind of move the current one way, the needle will go to the left. If you flip the switch the other way, it'll go to the right, and so on. Anyway, this is a blow up of this instrument right here, and they basically tell me that this is like the dit side, this is the DOS side. So if you flips the switch or whatever, and it goes to the left, you'll get dit, and if you flip the switch and it goes to the right, you get da. This one, I don't really know this one as much. And Morse code receiver on paper. This is like some sort of wheel here thing, and maybe a winder deal thing here. The interesting thing about it is the recording on paper. Morse code started on paper, where Morse made this telegraph thing, and it due to electric pulses, it would be a like a hammer hitting paper, and making a mark like a pen, that gets hammered to the paper, and the marks were either long or short. Short would be dit, long would be da, and so on. And I guess the people that were doing this would be hearing that pen hitting the paper, and so they kind of started to like write it down instead of waiting for the strips to come, and so on. So that, they would hear the dit, and they'd just write dit, and hear the da, they'd write the da, and it kind of came up with maybe that notation of Morse code, these little things, da, dit, da, dit, kind of thing. Anyway, that's kind of what I'm interested in, is sort of the progression of this, where it basically came from, radio signals from just this, where they weren't really getting anything but just information, that there was really not quantitative or meaningful too much. It would just be sort of a, a needle swing, and then they got it down to kind of the left needle, the right needle, left needle, right needle. So it didn't really have any meaning other than just left or right, whatever that did. So that, it was not really telling a message or anything like that. And then they got it down to, the left side does the dit and the right side does the da, and you can control it. So if you do a dit, it'll go to the dit side. If you do a da, it'll go the da side. And it's just how long you push. You push it quickly and it's dit, then you push it and hold it, it's da, and so on. So you get the communication going. The progression was then, obviously that people started to hear the dits and das, and they just I kind of visualize is that they just finally got to the point where they didn't even have to write it down. They just hear um, um, like da dit, and somebody would just know that that's C. So somebody just sent the word letter C, and da, that's O. So they know O, and and you can start spelling it out in your head if you're really good at this. So here dit, dit, and that's L, and so on. And so anyway, sounds like those cheerleaders. Well, what does that spell? C-O-L. Anyway, this actually is back to, remember if you were watch my last one that was on the two ago. The last one was on Titanic, and the one before that was the midair collision over New York City, and there was the Colts Neck VOR. To review here, you have the midair over Queens, and the DC-8 was flying along Victor 123 to this Preston intersection. This is another picture of that. And then it was supposed to go on to what was JFK, before JFK, whatever the name of that one was, and ended up crashing there anyways. But they were supposed to hold at this Preston, and there was kind of a to-do about whether Colts Neck VOR was said to be working or not, and so on. To identify Preston, I did a little homework on this. Actually, it was Preston. Where did I come up with Colts? Oh, Colts Neck VOR is but to identify Preston, it's the 346 radial of the Colts Neck VOR. So to see if Colts Neck is working, what we do is we tune it to this on our VOR frequency 115.40, and then we turn the volume up and listen to the Morse code, and we want to hear. I mean, you have this right in the cockpit. It used to be on paper. Now it's like on computer screens, but you'd see it just like I'm seeing it right here, and you just follow it. You listen to it, and you hear da dit da dit da 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 dit da dit dit. That's it. That's Colts Neck VOR. So you can proceed to fly to it, and so on. And localizers for ILSs have that too, where you'd have the ILS name and you'd have the frequency, and then to make sure you have the right VOR, it would just make sure that the code matches, just like I showed you there. Anyway, that's kind of almost it. Although this was kind of like just kind of a rundown of the history. I was trying to do it sort of chronologically, and to some degree I did, but then I got to the end of my paper and I didn't want to go any more than this, because I plan to use this for like maybe a presentation later, and I don't want to clutter my notes with a full page on this. But anyway, it kind of went from here to kind of up to this box here. Anything, what do I really want to say about all this thing? Oh yeah, the VOR, if it's not working, you would tend to hear nothing. You turn on that volume and you listen for it, and you're not hearing anything. That's an indication that the VOR is not working. You might also get this one, where instead of it's doing what I just showed you, it's supposed to be Colts Neck da dit da dit da 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 dit da dit dit. You would get da dit 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 da, and that doesn't match. It's saying test instead of COL, and so on. So you know something's not right. Another thing, which is actually probably more common in the cockpit of an airplane, is you would be listening for this, and you would hear something similar to this, but it would actually not be this. It would be like some other VOR, because you've got the wrong VOR in there. You were thinking that you had Colts Neck, but you forgot to change it, and it's still on like Salzburg VOR, and so you would be giving this one da 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 da, whatever that one is, and so it just doesn't match. So it's like, you've got to kind of like figure out what's wrong, and then you look at, well, it's supposed to be 115.40, and you see that you have 112.28 or something like that, and so you have to kind of, to twist the frequency in to make sure it, and then you check, and now you've got the right POR. Anyway, I didn't mean to do this so much on aviation. Here's maritime. In 1999, they stopped using Morse code for like safety SOS signals and stuff like that, and they're using this new global maritime distress and safety system instead, and so on. But and in aviation, I guess there's, instead of it, they're still using Morse code, but they're doing it kind of a different way a little bit on some things, where it's actually written on the screen, sort of a computer verification check, rather than you having to like listen to it and follow it with your finger. Anyway, so I'm interested in it just because of the innovation to it. It basically started as a kind of a paper tape thing, and people were hearing the noise from that, and and then starting to make some sense, just using the noise instead of the the paper strip that it was coming, and so on. And then there's kind of a movement from radio back to like paper in like aviation ACARs, where you're getting like little receipt strips, with clearances and things like that, instead of like through the radio. Oh, that kind of brings up the subject that Morse code was like used in ships even after radio came up, or with voice, because the voice, people could kind of like turn radios on and like with scanners and like listen to the voices and hear what was being communicated, and so it lacked security, whereas the Morse code sort of goes directly to the other side, and it can't be sort of like eavesdropped on as much. I have to think about that a little bit, but I guess that's the case. So that's kind of interesting to me. And that's about all. I mean, there's 10 million other things I want to say about it, but again, it's the innovation side that I'm really interested in. It's how you kind of like design one thing. I'm making these gypsy scope things, and kind of hoping that this kind of turns into something better. Try to get this hooked up to a radio where instead of you spinning this, it'll start spinning itself with radio information, where if it kind of like just magically kind of like swings to 5, that your condition just dropped, and so on, with 1 being good and 6 being bad, kind of thing. And that comes from radio, and that's kind of why I'm interested in radio. I'm kind of baffled on how voice kind of emerged. They made it quite clear how the dit side and the DOS side evolved just from a needle swinging back and forth, and just that you can kind of visualize how radio control like got established. This is like from the late 1800s, and I think it was like maybe 1930s or 40s when radio control started to kind of happen. And it's just you've got a needle that's normally centered, and you push it one way and it goes left, and you push it another way it goes right. I mean, you can hook a rudder up to that, where you got give it left rudder, give it right rudder, and stuff like that. But how they got voice going, I'm that's where I'm kind of like going a little bit myself, to kind of like review on that, although I can't guarantee that that's what the next topic is going to be. It's actually looking like it probably will not be, but maybe one in the future. I plan to do these eventually once every 2 weeks. I've been doing them a little bit more to kind of catch up, because this playlist of CEO Jimmo just got kind of behind all my other ones, so on. So anyway, I guess that's about it. Final things to really say about this thing. Morse planned to use numbers that represented words and so on. And then it just really evolved where some other people kind of came in and came up with the, the letter characters and that type of thing and so on. And there was kind of like three people all working together. 1833, Carl. These people, they did a bunch of stuff. I think they came up with the telegraph or something like that. Varying lengths of words to their system. So that's kind of when the wording really kind of came from just the needle swinging back and forth. Anyway, I guess that's about it. I'm tired. It's been a long day. I've had my dinner and about to kind of like relax and read some books and so on. Anyway, please like it and subscribe and so on. Appreciate your time. Have a good one. Thumbs up if you like it. All that. Be well. So long.